this country's infrastructure, which is so important for what the business of this country is. And the business of this country is business. It wasn't big government, so we can do it. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. All time for general debate has expired. Pursuant to the rule, the bill shall be considered for amendment under the 5-minute rule and shall be considered as read. No amendment to the bill shall be in order except as House imprinted in House Report 112-446. Each such amendment may be offered only in the order printed in the report by a member designated in the report. Shall be considered read. Shall be debatable by the time specified in the report, equally divided and controlled by the proponent and an opponent. Shall not be subject to any amendments and shall not be subject to a demand for division of the question. It is now in order to consider amendment number 1 printed in House Report 112-446. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 1, printed in House Report number 112-446, offered by Mr. Boustany of Louisiana.
Pursuant to House Resolution 619, the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Boustany, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 1986, Congress created the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund and the Harbor Maintenance Tax, a dedicated user fee to provide a steady revenue source for the Army Corps of Engineers to carry out dredging of our critical navigation channels to meet their authorized specifications with regard to depth and width. In the year 2011, the harbor maintenance tax that was collected was $1.4 billion, but only slightly over half of that was directed to the intended purpose, the operations and maintenance purposes. Yet, less than 35% of our top nation's harbors and ports are dredged adequately. This is hurting American competitiveness. It's hurting American exports. It's hurting American commerce. And frankly, as the Ways and Means Oversight Subcommittee Chairman, I find this an egregious abuse of this tax. My amendment basically does this. It basically ties the harbor maintenance tax revenue receipts to expenditures. All funds collected shall be utilized for the purposes that they were intended, and that is maintenance of our nation's ports and harbors. Mr. Chairman, in January 2012 alone, 5 ships ran aground in the lower Mississippi River, our nation's largest export artery. This funding is critical to prevent draft restrictions which have negatively affected our commerce. It's critical for expanding exports, and it's critical in its support for American exploration and production of American energy. Furthermore, the Congressional Budget Office does not issue a score on this. It doesn't add 1 penny to the deficit. This amendment is critical for American competitiveness. It gives the House a strengthened hand going into conference with the Senate, as I look forward to continuing to find alternative ways to enforce that these funds are dedicated swiftly and solely for the intended purpose, and that is for port and waterways maintenance. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, although not in opposition, I claim the time 5 minutes. I ask unanimous consent to claim that time.
The gentleman controls 5 minutes.
I recognize the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. Fazio, for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman. I've long supported changing the law so that the funds collected for harbor maintenance are spent on harbor maintenance. They're spent all across the country in a whole range of things except harbor maintenance. I have jetties failing in Coos Bay, Oregon, a jetty failing at the mouth of the Columbia River. I have ports that are shoaling in Port Orford or Florence that can't afford, the Corps says they can't afford dredging. I don't blame the Corps because they've been shorted in the budget process. They have a $40 billion backlog of critical projects. This will help them focus their energies on some other critical projects by giving them adequate funds to do the dredging, to rebuild the jetties, and to do the other work to maintain our locks and channels that they need to do. So this is a long overdue, and I strongly support the amendment.
I reserve.
Gentleman from Louisiana.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Gibbs, the chairman of the Subcommittee on Energy and Water.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you for gentlemen yielding time to discuss this important amendment. Congress has been neglecting our nation's water, our dredging needs for far too long. 95% of the nation's commerce goes through our nation's ports. Despite the fact that the Harbor Maintenance Fund, as was said, raises about $1.3 billion a year, Congress has only been appropriating about $800 million of that annually. This isn't right. I'm a firm believer that trust funds should be used for the intended purpose, to dredge the harbors. In response to Congressman Boustany, he introduced H.R. 104 to Realize America's Maritime Promise, the RAMP Act. This legislation, of which I was proud to be the 100th co-sponsor, simply ties the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund revenue to expenditures. While this amendment is slightly modified from H.R. 104, it would require the total budget resources for expenditures for the trust fund for the harbor maintenance programs to equal the level of receipts plus interest credited to the trust fund for that fiscal year. At a time when the President proposes to double our exports and we look to grow our nation's economy, we cannot sit back and continue to watch our nation's waterborne infrastructure system deteriorate. I urge support of this amendment. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Washington, Mr. McDermott.
The gentleman from Washington has 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of my friend Mr. Boustany's amendment. I think it's a good step forward. Spending all the money that's in the cash that we take in is in the best interest of maintaining our harbors. But I think we need to take another step, and I hope I can get Mr. Boustany and others to help. We need a solution that helps all our ports, those on the West Coast, those in Pennsylvania, those in Massachusetts. Pay the tax. We collect $20 on every can that comes across the dock, and we don't get any money because we don't dredge. We've got a 70-foot draft, but we do have problems with our seawall. We have big infrastructure needs all across, and nearly half the money that's raised never is spent in the port where it is raised. Now, we compete with international ports. We compete with Vancouver, and the Canadians are putting in a port at Prince Rupert, and we need to maintain our ports to be competitive in this very, very competitive industry. We have a good geographic location. We're close to Asia, but they're going other places because they've got better ports. And that's our issue, and we'd like to have some money later on. Thank you very much. I support the amendment.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Louisiana.
Mr. Chairman, I now yield 1 minute to my friend from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank my friend from Southwest Louisiana for bringing this amendment forward. And as a proud co-sponsor of the RAMP Act, I support this legislation because what we're trying to say here is that you've got people that have been paying into this fund. This Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund has been there for years, and people have been paying into it, and the intention all along was that that money would be used to dredge our waterways and to upgrade our locks and to keep our infrastructure along our waterways up to date so that we can continue moving commerce not only throughout this country, but to be able to export and to be able to get commerce through to other countries. And as the Panama Canal is getting ready to come online in 2013, even deeper draft vessels are going to be coming through. That means we've got to be able to meet that demand, otherwise we're going to lose that business to foreign nations. And that yet here you have the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund, and that money's not even being used for its intended purpose. We've got to ensure that the fund cannot be raided for other government spending. And that's what this amendment does. It's something that will help us create jobs and increase competitiveness of our workers, and it'll keep that promise that's been made to those people who have been paying billions of dollars into this fund, and yet that fund hasn't been used properly. So I support the amendment, urge its passage, and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Walsh.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the amendment as the lead co-sponsor with Mr. Boustany on the RAMP Act, H.R. 104, that had approximately over 150 co-sponsors on both sides of the aisle, people from all corners of the country. This really should be a measure that we should move forward on and fully fund, as well as with the language that, again, Mr. Boustany crafted to offer here today. There, frankly, are other reasons why we called that bill the Restore America's Maritime Promise Act, which is that, again, we are a great maritime nation. In fact, our national defense requires having a strong Navy that can navigate all along the coast. And where I'm from, up in the state of Connecticut, the Groton Sub Base needs to be dredged out year in and year out, but just like everybody else, it depends on the kindness of the Army Corps of Engineers. This is really a priority that obviously, as others have said, affects our economy, our exports, and also our national defense, and we should support this measure. And again, I applaud the gentleman for bringing it forward. I yield back. I yield back to Mr. Rahal.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Louisiana.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to yield time to Mr. Upton, the Chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, for 1 minute.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. This is a highway and infrastructure bill, which means it is a jobs bill. And I commend Mr. Boustany and the bipartisan effort to add this as an amendment to this bill. I represent the Great Lakes. We have a number of commercial as well as recreational harbors, but throughout the season we're bringing sand, gravel, cement, salt for the winter into our commercial ports, and sadly we've had a number of ports closed this year in West Michigan where those lake carriers have not been able to get in because they need to be dredged. This bill allows the Great Lakes harbors to be dredged with its passage. The difference is this. On a lake carrier, it's about 600 gallons per ton, 600 miles per gallon per ton of cargo that you can ship on a lake carrier rather than spending 4 or 5 cents on diesel fuel per mile per truck. And the difference for just my district is you can bring this in from the UP and other places into the southern part of Lake Michigan rather than trucking it in for hundreds of miles to the closest port. This is a good bill, a good amendment. I'm glad to support it.
Gentleman from Louisiana's time is up, and the gentleman from West Virginia has 2 minutes.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Richmond, and commend him for all his hard work on this legislation.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, and I join my colleagues from Louisiana in supporting this critical amendment. What I would add is that we've talked about doubling our exports over the next 4 or 5 years, and this is a critical piece to allow us to do it. What we realize here in America is that we only make up 5% of the consumers in the world, and we have to make sure that our manufacturers, that our farmers, and that our citizens can get their goods to the other 95% so that we can continue to build a robust economy. This allows us to reduce the cost of our goods around the world because we can now ship more goods to market. It's a step in the right direction, and if you look at the fact that only 2 out of our 10 largest seaports are dredged to their authorized depth, it continues to move us in the right direction so that we can now focus on adequately getting to, and the goal of getting to a depth of 55 feet, which other progressive countries are getting to. We have to stay competitive. We have to continue to invest in this country. This gives us the best return on our investment. I commend him for bringing the amendment. I support it. I would urge my colleagues to vote for it, and I would yield back to our ranking member of the Transportation Committee, Mr. Rahal.
Thanks.
Thank you. The gentleman...
Oh, their time's expired?
Yeah, the gentleman from Louisiana's time has expired.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to give the gentleman from Michigan a minute to speak on this.
The unanimous request must be equal on both sides.
Yes.
Yes.
From Louisiana has 1 minute.
Thank you. And then what I would ask the gentleman if he would close for us.
The gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Speaker, you need to come. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I've got a radical idea. A radical idea for the people of America. Let's use harbor maintenance trust funds for harbor maintenance. For 25 years, we've been robbing Peter to pay Paul, but in reality, that $7 billion that we have taken away from that has really been robbing places like Manistee, Michigan, where this weekend in my district, a ship ran aground and had to get towed off, and the damage that happened to it. We have 11 harbors in the 2nd District, hundreds in the Great Lakes, and countless in the nation on both of the coasts and in the Gulf of Mexico. Enough money has been collected every year to pay for all of this maintenance that has to happen, but unfortunately Congress has been skimming it to help pay for other programs. It's time that act. I appreciate my friend from Louisiana, Mr. Boustany, his leadership with the RAMP Act, Mr. Upton, Chairman Upton from Michigan, and leading this in the Great Lakes. But we know this is the right thing to do for America and for our transportation needs, our infrastructure needs. Our Great Lakes need it, the coasts need it, our harbors need it, our economy needs this to happen. And I thank you very much and strongly support this amendment today.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 1 minute of my final 2 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from Massachusetts, member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Richard Neal.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, everybody's heard of Gloucester and Boston and certainly connected it to the Mayflower. The most famous ports in America perhaps are located in Massachusetts. So I want to be supportive of Mr. Boustany's amendment today. Today, Massachusetts seaports continue to play an important role. The Port of Boston's overall activity supports 34,000 jobs and contributes more than $2 billion to the local, regional, and national economies. America's ports provide a vital gateway to international trade by facilitating the transport of cargo around the world. Yet many ports around the country, including those in Massachusetts, are in need of maintenance. In fact, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers estimates that the dimensions at the nation's busiest 59 ports are available less than 35% of the time. Even though users of our nation's waterways are paying significant amounts of money into the trust fund to maintain our ports, these dollars are not being spent on the ports, and the trust fund has a surplus of $6.4 billion. Mr. Boustany's amendment addresses this situation. It makes a good deal of sense. We've held a hearing at the Ways and Means Select Revenue Subcommittee, and there was bipartisan support for his legislation. I urge support for Mr. Boustany's amendment.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, as a representative of the great seafaring state of West Virginia, I rise in support of this, the gentleman's legislation as well. But really, ports are important to my state. We export a great deal of coal out of my district through the port of Norfolk. Northern part of West Virginia's coal goes through the port of Baltimore. So harbors and ports are very important to West Virginia and for the movement of our coal from the state to its world customers. I want to commend the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Boustany, as well, for the tremendous work he's done on this legislation. For far too long, we have been collecting far more resources in the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund than we have transferred to the Corps of Engineers for their O&M activities, to the point where in the current fiscal year, the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund is expected to have an unexpended balance of over $8 billion by the end of the year. So I support the gentleman's efforts to use these funds for maintenance dredging rather than to cover the general expenditures of the U.S. Treasurer. However, in my view, this amendment does not go far enough because it strips out any enforcement mechanism should this language be ignored. In addition, the language also ignores concerns expressed by our committee colleague, the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Water and Resources and Environment, Mr. Bishop of New York, on ensuring an equitable distribution of trust fund dollars between our nation's large, mid-sized, and small commercial harbors. But I do look forward to working on these critical issues as we continue our discussions on a long-term surface transportation bill in conference, which we're going to call for today.
Expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Louisiana. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. It is now in order to consider amendment number 2, printed in House Report 112-446. For what purpose does the gentleman from Wisconsin rise?
Easy. Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 2, printed in House Report number 112-446, offered by Mr. Ribble of Wisconsin.
Pursuant to the House Resolution 619, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Ribble, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The folders that I'm holding here represent our dysfunctional federal bureaucracy. They provide a stark example of the burdensome red tape that a Wisconsin business must go through just to get an approval on a single project. Mr. Chairman, in this folder is when the county controls the project. This folder is when the state controls the project. Mr. Chairman, it's this folder when the federal government controls the project. While these examples aren't specifically for a highway project, they're emblematic of the bureaucracy our federal government imposes in northeastern Wisconsin and across the nation. My amendment today will smooth the road for our infrastructure projects by reducing the redundant permitting requirements that prevent us from rebuilding our roads and bridges across this country. My amendment includes many of the practical reforms that I and my colleagues on the Transportation Committee have championed under the Chairman Mica's leadership. Today, the average lifespan of a construction project is 15 years, but only 5 of those years involve actual on-the-ground construction. Let me say that again. At least 10 years of a project are not spent building anything, but instead are spent filling thousands of folders just like these with millions of pages of paperwork. My amendment expedites this process. In some cases, we can cut this timeline in half merely by allowing the federal and state agencies to work together. How about that for an idea? To work together on the review and permitting process. My amendment sets hard deadlines for federal agencies to approve infrastructure projects, no longer leaving them in limbo. There's been a lot of talk about shovel-ready projects in recent years. Well, my amendment will help states, municipalities, and contractors to put their pencils down and, Mr. Chairman, pick the shovels up. It's exactly what we need in a time when our economy is struggling. The federal government needs to stop putting up roadblocks to job creation and figure out ways to make things easier and less costly. My amendment would do just that. It also exempts certain unplanned emergencies from some of the review processes. When a state or city is hit by damaging storms or unexpected flooding, our top priority should be to get our roads and bridges repaired, not subjecting our communities to an endless permitting process that may further harm their quality of life. Mr. Speaker, the bill before us today is not perfect, but then again, no bill ever is. However, my amendment will put us on the road to reforming how we build and maintain our infrastructure throughout this country, and I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting it, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, I claim the time in opposition.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
I yield 2 minutes. Gentleman from Oregon, Mr. DeFazio.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Wisconsin, if he could pay attention, I'm going to ask him a question. Sir, hello, hi, over here. Hi. Okay, yeah, I do have a question about your amendment. You might remember in committee that I managed to convince the majority to strip a provision in the underlying bill that would have waived all laws at the discretion of the President of the United States to do projects of national national competitiveness and.
Well, the gentleman yield, our amendment takes that out.
Yeah, I know. You don't have that, and I appreciate that. But there is, in yours, on page, from the original bill, you took this language. The Secretary shall treat an activity carried out under Title 23, United States Code, or project within a right-of-way as a class of action categorically excluded from the requirements relating to environmental assessments or environmental. That means all federal highway projects would be exempt from any environmental review. Don't you think that's a little over the top? That's a little more than streamlining it. And that's not just within existing rights-of-way. That is, acquire a new right-of-way, build an 8-lane road, and no environmental review. Don't you think? I mean, that might be a little bit over the edge.
Well, it's just, the gentleman yield, it's just in the right-of-way, though.
No, it says or project within a right-of-way. I mean, I think there, you have at least a drafting problem here, if not an intentional problem. This exempts any project under Title 23, which means a brand-new highway, 8, 12, 15 lanes wide, and newly acquired right-of-way with no environmental review.
The gentleman yield? Yeah, I can say this to you, that I have full confidence in your state's environmental protection. I have full confidence in the leaders in the state of Wisconsin for sure to be able to do it.
Reclaiming my time. I don't have confidence in a lot of people in a lot of states, and I don't think the American people deserve at least some protection. Now, I can understand the impatience with some of the bureaucracy. I share it, particularly when it comes to transit projects and other things, and giving states authority like we've done to California. Can I have an additional 30 seconds? 30 seconds, Dick.
Additional 30 seconds.
But for the gentleman to say that we'll just let the states decide whether or not there will be any environmental review of a major new highway project is extraordinary to me, using federal money. I mean, if they want to use the state money and they want to say there are no laws that apply and we're just going to build this Chinese method, here comes the bulldozer, get out of the way, get out of your house, here it comes, fine. If states are like that and they do it with their own money, people of that state can deal with it. But for the federal government to say, we wash our hands of this and you can do anything you want with federal taxpayer dollars, constructing major new highways with no review, I think that's a little over the top.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin.
I'd like to yield a minute and a half to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Schuster.
Gentleman's recognized for 90 seconds.
I thank the gentleman for yielding and commend him on his amendment. I think it's a great amendment. As a freshman, you've done tremendous work on the committee, and you've been in Washington in only a year and a half, and yet you brought a shovel here. That shovel shovels more than just dirt. It shovels other stuff that happens here in Washington, and it's time we clear some of that out to be able to streamline building roads and highways in this country, and that's what your amendment does. It cuts bureaucratic red tape, allows the federal agencies to review transportation projects concurrently, which is extremely important. It delegates project approval authority to the states, establishes hard deadlines to federal agencies to make decisions on permits, which is going to definitely speed up the process. It expands a list of activities that qualify for categorical exclusions on approval process that's faster, simpler, and it's a standard process. So the environmental protections do remain in place. I disagree with the gentleman from Oregon. I have all the confidence in the world that what the gentleman has in his amendment here will allow just what's in the right-of-way. That's what we interpret it, and I believe that's what the states will interpret it. So I have all the confidence that this amendment is properly prepared, and we are going to pass it here on the floor today. So again, these are practical reforms. Time is money, and anybody that's been in business knows time is money, and that's what these reforms are going to do. Reduce the time, which will reduce the cost to get us highways and bridges built faster in this country. So I commend the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Ribble, on his excellent work and his work on this commitment. Also, the chairman for his tireless efforts in bringing this the extension to the floor. And as we move into conference, I'm confident we're going to come up with something that's better than we see from the other side.
Gentleman's time has expired.
I thank the gentleman.
Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, I rise in opposition to the amendment. While I strongly support the efficient review of projects to ensure timely project delivery, I believe it is possible to balance these needs with adequate opportunity for public input. Unfortunately, the provisions in the Ribble Amendment are far beyond balanced and would severely limit public input into surface transportation project decisions. In effect, the amendment places a roadblock on public participation in reviewing transportation projects by limiting and, in certain cases, outright waiving NEPA. That goes far beyond streamlining. Locking the public out of the decision-making project is steamrolling our constituents and local governments. The most galling aspect of this amendment is that it would completely exempt any and all highway project where the federal share of the cost is less than $10 million or 15% of the project cost from the requirements to provide public participation and an analysis of alternatives in the project decision-making process. Proponents of the amendment argue that NEPA and other laws are causing years of project delays. Simply not true. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, the vast majority of projects delivered both by the Federal Highway Administration and the FTA, 96% to be exact, already go through minimal NEPA review, meaning that all NEPA compliance is completed within 24 months to 6 months. Ironically, this amendment could increase those delays by excluding the public from participation in the project review process and increasing the likelihood of public opposition to a project, leading to greater delays in project delivery. Now, many of us know the public, if they're locked out of a decision-making project or a review process and where they feel they have a legitimate right to participate, where are they going to go? They're going to go to the courts and sue. Now, does the gentleman think that the judicial process, when you have to face lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, is going to be streamlining the process? I think not. We're looking at a longer process there than any environmental view would ever entail. Again, while I strongly support efficient review and sufficient review of projects to ensure timely project delivery, this amendment goes too far. It undermines public participation in local decisions and could potentially create greater problems of project delivery, and I would urge the defeat of the gentleman's amendment. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to thank the ranking member. We do have a disagreement, and disagreements happen in this chamber a lot. But anyone who's traveled our roads, highways, tried to cross bridges that have been falling apart, that are filled with potholes, that have needed repairs for sometimes decades, recognize the real cost and real cause of the delay. Mr. Chairman, I would note that my amendment in no way eliminates NEPA or the need for an environmental review to occur. However, our current process reduces redundant submissions and approvals can render a road project obsolete before the ground's ever been broken. My amendment merely ensures that federal and state governments get to actually work together in doing the review. They get to work together to do this. And unlike others, I have full confidence in the people that live in the states whereby this work is going to be done. They're the neighbors of these road projects. They're the ones that swim in the lakes and streams and drink the water, breathe the air. They're the ones that live there. And they ought to have more say on how these projects are completed. And we could actually get more projects done because of this. And I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Wisconsin. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Request roll call vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Wisconsin will be postponed. It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 3, printed in House Report 112-446. For what purpose does the gentleman from West Virginia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment Number 3, printed in House Report Number 112-446, offered by Mr. McKinley of West Virginia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 619, the gentleman from West Virginia, Mr. McKinley, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, thank you. And I want to thank Chairman Mica and the leadership for working with our office to allow this amendment to proceed and to be offered. Just a reminder, this issue passed the House on a 2-to-1 vote back last October, and previously on a continuing resolution. The legislation has had strong bipartisan support, with numbers of Democrats voting in favor. So we're not here to rehash those old fights. What we're here to do is discuss how fly ash pertains to maximizing funds for our roads and our bridges and our construction projects, and protecting hundreds of thousands of jobs all across America. But there are those that don't see the correlation between coal ash and concrete, even though it's been an integral part of concrete in America for over 80 years. Quite frankly, upwards of 316,000 jobs are at stake with this amendment, and over $100 billion in roads, bridges, and infrastructure projects if coal ash is not recycled into concrete. Keep in mind, 60 million tons of fly ash are recycled annually. Let's read some quotes from some of the individuals that have talked about with the Veritas Economic Consulting Report about 316, for the American Road and Transportation Builders Association with the $100 billion. Here's from the Home Builders Association: removing coal ash from the supply chain would increase the price of concrete by an average of 10%. Fly ash replaces the American concrete pipe, replaces 15 million tons of cement in its use. Look at what the administration's agencies are talking about. Under the Department of Interior and Department of Transportation, Interior, we concur with industry leaders who feel strongly that if fly ash is designated a hazardous waste, it will no longer be used in concrete. Here from the same department, fly ash approximately 20 to 50% less than the cost of concrete. Fly ash is a valuable byproduct in transportation, used in highway facilities. It is a vital component of concrete and is important for the number of other infrastructure uses. And then the last, cement is more costly than fly ash. In some areas, it is as much as twice the cost. So what's EPA say? Their own statements. 1 ton of fly ash used as a replacement for cement replaces the equivalent of nearly 2 months of an automobile's carbon dioxide emissions. 1 ton of fly ash used as a replacement for cement saves enough energy to provide electricity to an average American home for nearly 20 days. Coal ash leads to better road performance. Mr. Speaker, let's be honest. What we're relating to here is about the use of fly ash in concrete that's been for over 80 years. Anyone opposing this legislation clearly has an agenda, and that agenda is anti-coal. So that's why I'm asking my colleagues to join me today in supporting this amendment once again and protecting 316,000 jobs and maximizing the highway funds available for upgrading our roads and bridges all across America. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman of West Virginia?
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent, although in support of the amendment, to claim the time in opposition to.
Without objection.
And I yield 3 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Waxman.
Gentleman's recognized for 3 minutes.
I rise in opposition to the amendment. President Obama has already threatened to veto this legislation because it circumvents the long-standing process for reviewing the potentially dangerous Keystone XL pipeline. The McKinley Amendment would add another extraneous provision to the underlying bill. This amendment would prevent EPA from regulating toxic coal ash and would put our nation's drinking water and public health at greater risk. On December 22, 2008, a coal ash impoundment in Kingston, Tennessee burst, releasing 5.4 million cubic yards of toxic sludge, blanketing the Emery River and the surrounding land and creating a Superfund site that could cost up to $1.2 billion to clean up. At hearings in the Energy and Commerce Committee, we heard testimony about the devastating impacts contamination from coal combustion waste can cause. We learned of contaminated drinking water supplies and ruined property values. We learned that improper disposal of coal ash can both present catastrophic risks from ruptures of containment structures and cause cancer and other illnesses from long-term exposure to leaking chemicals. 2 years ago, EPA proposed regulations to ensure stronger oversight of coal ash impoundments in order to prevent disasters like the one at Kingston and to protect groundwater and drinking water from the threat of contamination. The agency had proposed 2 alternatives for regulating coal combustion residuals. One proposal was to regulate these wastes under Subtitle C of the Resources Conservation Recovery Act, or RCRA, or as a hazardous waste. The other proposal was to regulate under Subtitle D of RCRA as a non-hazardous solid waste. Under both proposals, there would be a minimum federal standard developed to protect human health and the environment. Those standards would address wet impoundments like in Kingston, and it would also ensure that basic controls like the use of liners, groundwater monitoring, and dust control meet a minimum level of effectiveness. But this amendment blocks both EPA proposals. It replaces those proposals with an ineffective program that will not ensure the safe disposal of coal ash, won't protect public health, and won't protect the environment. We could and we should do better. In each of our environmental laws, Congress has always established a legal standard when delegating programs to the states. These standards are the yardsticks by which it is determined whether a state's efforts measure up. They ensure a minimum level of effort and protection throughout the nation. This approach has worked well because it prevents a race to the bottom by the states. But this legislation doesn't include any legal standard. I'd ask the gentleman.
Gentleman's time has expired.
30 additional seconds.
Yield 30 additional seconons.
Gentleman's recognized.
This legislation does not include any legal standard to establish a minimum level of safety. And to the extent new safety requirements are established, nearly all of them can be waived at a state's discretion. The legislation appears to create a program, but the decision about whether or not to go forward is one that it will be at the state discretion. The result will inevitably be uneven and inconsistent rules between the states. Some will do a good job, others won't. If this legislation is adopted, no one should be fooled. This bill won't protect
Gentleman's time has
living
expired.
near these impoundment sites.
Gentleman
Thank
from
you,
West
gentlemen.
Virginia. Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Speaker, just a quick couple of observations. Just to remind everyone, we've been using fly ash and concrete for over 80 years, and the President has not issued a veto threat on this legislation. Perhaps he's aware of the 316,000 jobs that others are not as concerned about. So I'm going to be, in closing, I don't know whether, in time-wise, whether or not, and I also want to thank my colleague from West Virginia for sponsoring this legislation, co-sponsoring this legislation, and I hope he'll continue to help us find the bipartisan support in protecting the jobs. So with that, how much time do I have left?
You have a minute and a quarter.
Okay, I'm going to yield that to the chairman of the committee as the purpose of closing. So if
the gentleman is recognized for 75 seconds.
From the great state of Michigan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would ask the unanimous consent to revise and extend. I would just like to remind the House that this amendment is the same bill that the House passed last year with a vote of 267 to 144. We moved this through regular order through our committee, hearing, subcommittee, full committee markup, and I want to say, as I recall, by nearly a 3-to-1 margin in the full committee did we pass this amendment. This amendment establishes a program that protects human health and environment. It requires groundwater monitoring and requires that states monitor for the same constituents that EPA identified as being important for the regulation of coal ash. The amendment also requires that states require liners for new structures and establishes appropriate controls on fugitive dust. This amendment, for 2 years, EPA has been considering regulating coal ash. This amendment would this bill would allow the safe use of coal ash in such products as concrete, wallboard, roofing, shingles. As a gentleman from West Virginia said, it saves 316,000 jobs. This is a highway and infrastructure bill. It is a jobs bill. This saves American jobs. And it is very important that the House continue to support the McKinley Amendment, whether it be a freestanding bill as we did last year or an amendment to this bill.
Expired.
I yield back.
Gentleman from West Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, back in 1980, former Representative Tom Bevel of Alabama and myself inserted an amendment into the Solid Waste Disposal Act requiring EPA to study and then determine how to regulate coal ash. That was in 1980. Today, 32 years later, EPA has not done so in a final manner. So I believe it is completely appropriate to place this authority within the hands of the state, as the pending amendment by the gentleman from West Virginia would clearly do. In the wake of the 2008 coal waste disaster at a TVA facility, I introduced legislation to strengthen the regulation of coal ash impoundments. The pending legislation is not perfect in these respects. In fact, there are some flaws which need to be worked out further. I also believe that there are more appropriate ways to gain enactment of the provisions of H.R. 2273, which this amendment reflects. In fact, we should all note that the bill has already passed the House and then been sent to the other body, where senators are actively working to achieve a bipartisan agreement. I will, however, vote for this amendment because I have long supported many of the concepts embodied in it, including active oversight of coal ash impoundments and the promotion of the beneficial reuse of coal ash for activities like road building, which my colleague from West Virginia has already well demonstrated. So as I conclude, I urge my colleagues to support this amendment and join in thanking my colleague from West Virginia for bringing it to us today, and praise him for his consistency, because he came to me early on in our T&I markup process to have this introduced in committee.
Gentleman's time has expired. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from West Virginia. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, the unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on Amendment Number 2, printed in the House Report 112-446 by the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Ribble, on which further proceedings were postponed and which the yeas prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment Number 2, printed in House Report Number 112-446, offered by Mr. Ribble of Wisconsin.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device, and this will be a 15-minute vote.
The House this afternoon has been considering a 90-day extension of the Surface Transportation Bill and several amendments considered as well. A vote here on an amendment by Reid Ribble, Wisconsin Republican, which would ease some federal environmental requirements and waive them in certain emergency situations. It's a 15-minute vote. The underlying bill, however, another extension of transportation programs. We spoke to a Capitol Hill reporter who's been covering the story. First is with Congressional Quarterly. Why is the House bringing up another 90-day extension of the Surface Transportation Programs bill when they just did one in the spring recess?
Well, this is actually another new tactic that the House GOP has taken up, as they've had quite a bit of a problem selling their 5-year, $260 billion transportation bill to their own caucus, especially with no Democratic support. They just don't have the 218 votes they need to pass it. So this latest extension actually is going to have 3 amendments that are going to be voted on, one of which brings up a lot of the project expediting and deregulation parts of the transportation bill. They're hoping to take this bill as basically a shell bill with that, and also a provision to pass to approve the Keystone XL pipeline against the Senate's bill, a 2-year, $109 billion measure that's already passed, and go to conference with that bill. This would also give them a little more time on the conference committee through September 30th to complete all that work.
Why are the House Republicans so determined to get the Keystone Pipeline approved?
Well, this has been a big legislative priority of theirs. This is the 4th time that they've tried to attach it to basically unrelated legislation. So as the GOP is going into an election year where they've got a lot at stake, they're really taking the issue of high gas prices and pushing that hard legislatively. Keystone is seen as a key part of that legislative approach, and it's kind of also seen as a sweetener for a number of House GOP conservatives who have made that a priority but necessarily weren't as excited about the transportation bill on its own.
You mentioned that the idea is to pass the bill, go to conference on the Senate 2-year bill that they've passed. So what does that mean? What does that do with the status of that 5-year bill that Transportation Chair John Mica had been pushing?
Well, essentially, that's leaving it on the table, though, again, one of the amendments that's coming up today with this extension is a number of the deregulation and expediting provisions. And so what they're hoping to do is take some of those stronger provisions, that certainly much stronger than what the Senate produced, and put those up against the 2-year bill, which essentially at this point would serve as an extension just to get transportation programs to the end of 2013.
Is the House bill today likely to attract any Democratic support?
Oh no, the House Democrats have really pushed for passage of the Senate bill. They, of course, introduced their own version of that, hoping H.R. 14, hoping to get that through. But and they've really expressed no interest in working with House Transportation and Infrastructure Chairman John Mica on this bill because they felt like they weren't included in the legislative process there. The bill was really targeted at getting Republican votes. There's not a lot in there for Democrats, and so they said that they would like to see the Senate bill instead.
What are the chances in that negotiation and that conferees can work out the differences between an ultimately passed House bill and the Senate version?
Senate Democrats definitely feel like they still have somewhat of an upper hand because they have more concrete language here. Of course, the Keystone provision is seen as political anathema to the Democrats, so they're not very excited about having to work with that. But they do feel like they have some significant leverage, and going into that, considering the Republicans are bringing in a shell bill and not a fully passed transportation bill, it does give the Democrats in the Senate a lot more leverage on transportation provisions and particularly funding mechanisms.
Nathan Hurst is with Congressional Quarterly, and you can read his reporting at CQ.com. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And there will be just one amendment vote on the transportation extension. This one, Reid Ribble of Wisconsin Amendment, which would ease some federal environmental requirements and waive them in certain emergency situations. This amendment vote 15 minutes. The underlying bill would extend federal highway projects and programs through the rest of the fiscal year through the end of this September. It would also require approval of the Keystone XL pipeline, and that is a sticking point, obviously, for the White House. In a statement, presidential advisors said the legislation would circumvent, quote, longstanding and proven process for determining whether pipelines are in the national interest. So one amendment vote, we expect a Democratic motion to recommit and final passage vote as well. Another transportation story in a hearing today on Capitol Hill before the Transportation Subcommittee in the Senate. A AAA official said that tolls are increasingly being diverted to pay for transportation projects and other expenses unrelated to roadways. The Associated Press reports that a bill introduced by Senator Frank Lautenberg of New Jersey, the subcommittee chairman, would give the Secretary of Transportation the power to reject toll increases on highways and bridges that receive federal aid if they're judged to be excessive. 15-minute vote on the House floor, and again, the motion to recommit is next. Just one amendment vote in the House. This one, an amendment by Reid Ribble, Republican of Wisconsin, on the transportation bill. His amendment would ease federal environmental requirements and waive them in certain emergency situations. The underlying legislation is a 90-day extension of highway programs and transportation for the rest of the fiscal year through the end of September. It would begin in July and run through September. It also includes approval of the Keystone XL pipeline. The administration has issued a veto threat against the bill. An amendment vote here, we expect a Democratic motion to recommit. The Democrats, by the way, according to the Associated Press, have reserved more than $32 million in ad time in districts across the country, giving an early sketch of the race for the control of the House. We have some Road to the White House coverage underway this afternoon on cspan.org. Mitt Romney this afternoon speaking in Charlotte, North Carolina. In fact, it's just getting underway. He is delivering what they're calling a prebuttal to President Obama's Democratic National Convention speech, because the DNC convention will happen in Charlotte. So that's underway. You can follow that live on cspan.org.
yeas are 255. The nays are 165. The amendment is adopted. There being no further amendments under the rule, the committee rises.